Welcome, everybody. I'm going to welcome you to the Greenman's world. This is where I do most of my writing. Actually, that's where I do pretty much all of my writing. So today we are dealing with the Bedbug series. And I have a 3-book series, ladies and gentlemen, and it seems to be going over well. Those that have gotten back to me just find it creepy. They love it, and I know of at least 4 grandchildren that have got these books. Excuse me a minute. I'd say the age range would start around 6 or 7 is what I would suggest. Depending on how creepy your kid is, you could probably even go younger. I was one of those kids that I grew up on the Addams Family. I grew up on the Munsters. I would love to have lived in the house with the Addamses. So, yeah, it would have been Pugsley, it would have been Wednesday, and it would have been Ed or the Greenman. Yay! But if your kids fit into that line of just, okay, maybe we should have them looked at. No, not really. Just, if your kids are the kind of creepy, just don't get into the normal things the other kids do, then especially if you think they should be in Adams, like the rest of us unnamed and wanted to be Adamses. You will love the Bedbug series. We have the original, Don't Let the Bedbugs Bite. We have part 2, Critters, Jitters, and Shivers. Now, I've read both of these at some point, for those of you that might be following along. And today we are going to deal with reading out of the 3rd one, just recently released. Don't Let the Bedbugs Bite, Ooey Gooey and Chewy. This one came out back in December of 2019. Maybe November, I don't remember. But anyway, they are all illustrated. Let me show you like this. They all come with illustrations. They have pictures that associate with the Greenman. The illustrations just help give them that creepiness that is in there. Like here's a fairy's tale, and so it's basically some advice, which it's a mix of quotes from the Greenman or a mix of good advice that I'm trying to give, plus also just kind of creepy off the wall advice to like go with the books, if you had monsters or something in your room. The books are put out, let me put this out right off the bat, from Breaking Rules Publishing. It is run by Christopher Clausen Rule. You can also get these at Amazon. And right now, Ooey Gooey and Chewy, and the first one, Don't Let the Bedbug Bite, is on Kindle also. I recommend that you buy the books. The books are really cool to have, and they're just something to pass along. I think they'll eventually become a collector's item. So, let's get back to Ooey Gooey and Chewy. This one here is the 3rd in the series. There's going to be a 6-book series. I've already got the other 3 books laid out, the stories. I just haven't put them together and told them. But the foundations are there. So look for them down the road. I believe you'll love them. And right now, here's the 3rd one. I'll read what's inside of it. Like I said, you'll get a quote from the Greenman, which comes with it, quotes from the Greenman, and I put a quote in there. Advice, help the kids, just some things to let them know it's okay, And then each out of that, after the quote, comes one of the little rhymes. And so in this one, part 3, we have Eeky Peeky, Loused Larry, Chewy Louie, Slobby Bobby, Blankety Boo is the short story, Scarab Garab, Oogery Boogery, and Winkin', Blinkin', and Nod, a new kind of monster that haunts children in their bedrooms. Yeah, parents are not. Yeah, kids are going to hate their bedrooms. They're going to hate to take a bath, and they're going to hate to go to sleep. But then if they don't go to sleep, this monster get them. But then if they do go to sleep, that monster get them. If they bathe, this monster get them. But if they don't bathe, that monster get them. So, to all you parents out there, you're welcome. So, let's see here. Who's the first one I'm going to do? I think we will read Chewy Louie. Pardon me. Chewy Louie. Like I said, they come with illustrations. So Chewy Louie is the cockroach. And this is the Chewy Louie poem for children. When it comes to chawing, chomping, and a chew, little roach Louie has his sights set on you. Now, if you remember when I read Bedbugs 2, I grew up in a place where big flying water roaches got in the house, and you would wake up because something's biting on you, and you reach over and you grab it, and now you got this roach that bites down, and he's got just crinkly legs that are all sharp and prickly, and it's in your hand. It's 2 a.m, and all you can do is throw it across a darkened room. That's what I grew up with, because they got in the house. So here's one of my friends I grew up with. We'll just start from the beginning. Pardon the cough. When it comes to chawing, chomping, and a chew, little roach Louie has his sights set on you. You can hear his mandibles munching aggressively when he bites. As his salivary glands pool, while they sip, drip, and drool. Now, the females aren't so bad. You can kill them with a swat. But Louie is a boy, and that works almost not. Underneath his exoskeleton lays a hidden vice, a set of wings to fly away. So always swat him twice. Another thing to creep you out, his 6 spindly legs. They itch, they scratch, and they claw right back to keep your hands at bay. And imagine waking up with one of those in your hand at 1 or 2 a.m. in your sleep. That is why it's always best to let him run away. But if you do, remember this. You've now declared a warring tryst. Now, Louie is an eater of anything he can, from fingertips to plump red lips. He even loves a Spam. And when it comes to darkness, dankness, and night dew, if you've peed the bed, he'll always come for you. Don't go pee in the bed. You'd think this horror story would hopefully end right here. But unbeknownst to you, there's more than him to fear. 2, 4, 6, 8, 64 legs, and you're the bait date. 12, 14, 16, 20. That count makes more than one tummy, and you're so sounding deliciously yummy. 30, 60, 90, and more. His hungry family's knocking on your alone bedroom door. Now, as you fall asleep, there's something you should know. They want to look you in the eye. Your lids are first to go. They're angry and upset. You killed more than you should. So because of your hateful act, they've decided to strike right back. No matter what the size or how long it takes to swallow. Cockroach bellies are never full. On your meat, they'll wallow. When it comes to chomping and a chew, Roach Louie's family have their sights set on you. You can hear their mandibles munching aggressively when they bite, as their salivary glands pull while they sip, drip, and drool. All on you while you're sleeping. Woo! Yep, welcome to South Texas, people. The bugs are everywhere. Okay. So, I got a lot in here I really love. And even though it's one of my really favorite ones that I kind of want you to buy the book to hear and read, I'm going to go ahead and read it to you anyway. This one is called Scarab Garab. Okay? If you don't know what a scarab is, it's a beetle. Except this beetle is more of an Egyptian kind. Okay? Very special beetle. According to the movies, it's a deadly beetle. So, there we go. Beetles can be fun, and beetles can be stinky. But if you see a scarab, run away quickly. These little beetles don't just spray and bite. They're a one-way ticket to the afterlife. The little dung beetle knows the day is short. It must lay its eggs inside a cohort. Too bad there's not a body lying just around. Oh, look, here's one now. Upon you he has found. Now you can turn about and out sprinting fast, but once a scarab sees you, your soul he set to task. Now onward to what must be, answer his questions to satisfy he. To escape a horrid fate, for his eggs not incubate. These 3 questions you must know, or in your gullet they all go. Now onward to what must be, answer this question to satisfy he, and choose your answer well, or in your gullet Carib's eggs will dwell. When we came to be, was Kepri the god you see, or amongst the brothers were there chosen others? Choose your answer well, or in your gullet Carib's eggs will dwell. Now onward to what must be, answer this question to satisfy ye. The middle kingdom Egypt saw, did I rub their necks so raw? Try not to hem or haw, or you will lose it all. Choose your answer well, or in your gullet Garab's eggs will dwell. Now onward to what must be, answer this question to satisfy he. When the new kingdom finally dawned, did we sleep where Pharaoh's fond? Hurry up and answer quick, or Scarab's knife will lickety slip. Choose your answer well, or in your gullet Carib's eggs will dwell. Now onward to what must be, if you were lucky, maybe, and answered all 3. Is the sun still risen, or has it gone away? This next answer decides your day. Choose your answer well, or in your gullet Carib's eggs will dwell. Now onward to what must be, answer that question to satisfy he. For if the sun sat and you didn't win, into hates. Your spirit crimps. Full of eggs, Garib's batch, and once they've fed, they'll immediately hatch. Now onward to what must be. Garib isn't done with thee. There's one more thing he needs to do before the last of you is through. To be a scarab of utmost high, it's now time. Your soul must die. So in the morning, he can rise to pick another for egg mother. Now onward to what must be. Answer these questions to satisfy he, and choose your answer well, or in your gullet Garib's eggs will dwell. Didn't know beetles could do that, did you? Scarabs can! So, yeah. Better know your Egyptian history, folks, because if you don't, you're getting the eggs. That's all there's to it. You got to go to hell carrying his eggs, and they're going to feed on you, and then he feeds on your soul to come back. So you better know your Egyptian history, because I can't guarantee he's going to ask you these same 3 questions. Just can't guarantee it. How do you think he wins? Okay. Now comes the fun part, where I do with every other one of my videos. I'm going to read you the short story from Ooey, Gooey, and Chewy. It's called Blankety Boo. It's right on the edge to where it'll help kids understand horror. I do my best not to get into deep in adult situations. I might touch along them just to give you a heads up, but I don't go into depth. There's no need for that. But anyway, we're going to read the short story. This one is called Blankety Boo. Now, we all grew up with baby blankets, or at least I did. I knew friends that did. I can remember sleeping with my baby blanket maybe up in the 2nd, 3rd grade before it finally disintegrated. So more than likely, you got one when you were a baby. More than likely, it's still in your room. There's a good chance you might even have one that's been passed on. It's an antique and it's been passed through the family. So you might want to be careful with those. Okay, and you're going to now find out why baby blankets, your favorite blanket, is not always a good thing. Okay? Wipe my lips. Here we go. Since I don't have anything but cold coffee. Can't stand it. Ugh. Sorry, folks. I am not a cold coffee drinker. I can't do it. All right. Blankety Boo. Now, when it comes to urban legends, every civilization, every culture, and every history book seems to tell and sometimes record these far-fetched tales. But are they really that far-fetched? Most of us have heard about Bloody Mary, the hookman who stalked Lover's Lane, Slender Man, and the one that to this day finds every babysitter out there, especially if it's their first time. Man, the prank calls are coming from inside your house. Now, I'm going to share a true event that has been kept from the regular public, and especially a specific kind of consumer that likes to shop at specialty stores, which deal with those one-of-a-kind and sometimes mass-produced items. It's a cursed retelling. It's cursed. Sorry, I'm reading it wrong. Its cursed retelling can only be found and heard around the campfires of those always on the move nomads, gypsies. So this is a gypsy story. You're not just going to find this lying around. This dying confession came from the lips of Lucia Cadalila, a pure, untouched, and unmarried girl of 19. She shared it with her best friend, Lavinia Codonia, before succumbing to the injuries that her boss, Mr. Blackwell, had beaten upon her after learning a horrifying secret. The baby blanket that Lucia had been ordered to handcraft had been cursed before being bestowed as a christening gift for his now dead newborn son. It all began the day he stood upon a table in the middle of the sewing room and announced to his workers that his newlywed wife was pregnant. Before he could be helped down, Mr. Blackwell just happened to notice a few things about Miss Cadalila and her work area. The dark-haired goddess was embroidering a baby blanket that he personally deemed a work of art. He must have stood there a good 5 minutes watching her nimble fingers masterfully weave the most lifelike stork he has ever seen, before realizing that his trance-like gaze was now being met with one of her own. So he caught her attention, and she caught his. That's all it took. She would be the chosen seamstress to create the one-of-a-kind blanket his child deserved. She would also be the one who would end up being on the receiving end of his unwanted advances. To make sure that his shenanigans didn't end up getting back to his wife and being the latest talk at the water cooler, Mr. Blackwell set Lucia up in a private office so that she could give her undivided attention to the specific qualifications that he was now requiring for this monumental task. His baby was not going to be wrapped in a blanket produced by a machine. Everything about his gift will be weaved and sewn by hand. Now, when it comes to gypsies, hand weaving amongst her nomadic people was a trait that was forcefully passed down from mother to daughter. If it hadn't been for that other tradition, prearranged marriages, Lucia would still be traveling with the clan and not having to eke out a living working in a sweatshop in downtown Chicago. There was no way she was going to marry the man her mother was indebted to. Besides that, he was older than Methuselah. If you don't know who that is, he's the oldest man in the Bible. He's like almost 900 years old. As Lucia began her sequestered task out of the view of her fellow co-workers, she soon learned that being singled out by the boss is not always a good thing. Between the jealousy, rumors, and special attention he was giving her, she soon became an outcast amongst company. Even Miss Blackwell seemed to go out of her way so as not to have any kind of interaction with the seamstress. As the young gypsy woman sat in her glass-enclosed room, her question as to why she had been put in an office with a back door soon became apparent. It was Mr. Blackwell's private way of visiting her so that he could grope and fawn over her without being seen. He had even tried to force himself upon Lucia once, but her knuckles forcefully cracking the glass for help put an instant stop to that. Yeah, do whatever it takes, kids. Somebody's doing something they should not be doing or you uncomfortable with. You do whatever it takes to get someone's attention. You got me? So, as the days turned into weeks and the weeks into months, the 4x6 foot blanket began to take shape. And so did the deadly curse that was being whispered, weaved, and stitched into every inch of its creation. To keep her fingers nimble and making sure the curse would stick, Miss Cadalila dipped her fingers into a mix of her own spit, blood, and tears. She spoke sickness, heartache, death, and insanity into every last fiber of that hand-woven blanket. And the more Mr. Blackwell tried to take advantage of her kept away situation, the eviler those venomous curses became. When the birthing day finally arrived, Lucia was just finishing up with the hand stitching patterns that Miss Blackwell demanded on being a part of the blanket. She wanted there to be at least 100 hearts embroidered upon the gift to their child. And after soaking the thread in over a pint of her own blood, Miss Kai Delilah spoke her curse into every last stitch. Death, hatred, insanity, wasting, heartache, and anything else that a mistreated gypsy could think of as her heart began to harden and darken also. It wasn't until Lucia's return to the threading line that the weight of Mr. Blackwell's abuse finally started to release its hold on her. She even began to smile a little more when it was announced that the baby wasn't doing well. Made her happy. With each and every passing day, the child became sicker and sicker, as did Mr. Blackwell's wife. She would wrap herself and the baby in the blanket and spend their days rocking each other to sleep as she cared for their sickly infant. During this time, her boss was so entirely caught up with what was taking place with his family that his unwanted attention seemed to become something of a past nightmare, which Lucia actually thought she could finally take a breath and move on from. But all that changed after his wife passed away, about a week after their baby died. He was looking for condolence and was going to use Lucia to get it when he unexpectedly caught her in the midst of celebration and thanking her ancestral saints for answering her cursed prayers. She was honoring them with praise for fulfilling the curses that were spoken, and weaved into the blanket. Lucia was also giving thanks for the unexpected gift that had been bestowed upon her also, the death of the mother too. Mr. Blackwell was so enraged that he dragged Lucia into the room where she had woven the death shroud and proceeded to take out his anger, hatred, and authority in a way some women's husbands tend to do after returning from the pub in a drunken and sexed-up rage. It was violent, folks. And after taking her untouched purity, he left in a huff, but soon returned in a puff, retrieving the blanket from his office, where he had been keeping it as a soothing blanket to cry his misery in. Blackwell violently threw the death shroud at his new concubine and ordered her to destroy the thing the exact same way it had been created, stitch by hand sewn stitch. The only instrument she would be allowed to use as she unstitched the blanket were her own teeth, fingers, and nails. And as the unwanted physical abuse progressed from one day to the next week and into the following month, that baby bedding became saturated with her accursed spittle, venomous blood, and broken-nailed hatred. Between her employees' unwanted advances and the lack of proper tools, the unstitching and unweaving of the shroud took more than 6 months. Approximately 183 days, it's a long time, passed before those last pieces of thread were pulled apart. Laying at Lucia's feet were hundreds of feet of red thread that had once been whiter than pure, untouched snow. And she had plans for every last inch of it. Now that her boss no longer had a reason to keep her apart from the other co-workers, he no longer wished to look at the gal who was less than a ravaging beauty now. Took its toll, folks. Pain does. He had destroyed her self-worth to the extreme that she quit caring about her looks. She stopped bathing and she refused to change out of her dirty work clothes. Lucia Cadalila was nothing more than an empty shell of herself that you could smell walking in the door before ever knowing she was ever there. Mr. Blackwell placed her at the far end of his factory warehouse so that he would never have to look at or smell her nastiness again. Mean man. She would be in charge of loading the thread spindles onto the machine that was used to spin the baby blankets that were being mass-produced for the general public. The haggard gypsy woman of 19, who now had the appearance of a 40-year-old, gratefully thanked those that watched over her as she proceeded to use that which she had been ordered to destroy. What was that? She cut the cursed thread from the baby blanket into 3-inch strips and slipped one into every blanket the machine sewed. There was approximately 800 yards of thread used in the blanket for Blackwell's baby. That's somewhere in the distance of 2,400 feet of yarn she now had to work with. By cutting it into 3-inch strips, Cadalila estimated that she now had the ability to curse almost 800 baby blankets. It's a lot of baby blankets. If it hadn't have been for 2 separate instances, Lucia would have fulfilled her quota. The number of reported deaths of sudden infant death syndrome, all sleeping with a baby blanket from his company, and his lust for her, put Lucia in the bullseye of her boss. Unknown to Lucia, he had taken notice that she had finally started to care for her appearance and was starting to hunger for the feel of his naked skin pressed against hers once again. And the day he decided to do something about it, he unexpectedly walked up behind her just as she was placing one of the cursed threads. Blackwell couldn't believe what he was seeing and hearing as she stitched that piece of thread into a brand new baby blanket. As unto the Blackwells, so unto you. Let the curse of a slow, painful, and wasting death befall all those who purchase this and any others. That spoken curse was followed by a spit-soaked piece of thread being sewn into the garment. She was the reason for his suffering. She was the reason his wife died. And she was the reason for his baby dying. One of the 200 employees, out of the 200 employees that worked the warehouse floor, every last one of them gave the exact same account of what was shouted over them all before he attacked Lucia. I'm going to kill you. And she would have died in his strangled hands if it had not been for her fellow workers and the best friend any girl could have, tearing him away from her crumpled body. Instead of dying with Mr. Blackwell's hands around her throat, Lucia passed away in the arms of Lovina Codonia, the only person who had any inkling of why this had just happened. She was also the only other girl who had suffered at Blackwell's unwanted advances too. And like all good gypsies, a righteous curse is never bragged about to strangers and those who are not of the traveling clans. That's why you're one of the lucky ones. The story is only told around those darkened nights when someone is considering the same actions that Lucia had. Is there power still to this day in her curse. And the questionable answer is always the same. Do you see a Blackwell's baby blanket anywhere in the vicinity? Do you? You will never see such a thing amongst the gypsy. Normal, everyday people are an entirely different ballgame. They love his baby blankets. I'm willing to bet that you might even have or had one yourself. Even to this day, doctors are still unsure what causes SIDS in a baby. They have many theories, but no answers to that unsolved question. But gypsies know. They have always known. If there is a baby blanket in the crib, and it's a Blackwell's creation, the curse of Lucia has struck again. So, if somebody's baby unexpectedly passes away, was there a blanket in the crib? If you're young and always sickly, is there a blanket from Blackwell's in the room? And if others get sick and pass away around the same time as the baby did, were they wrapped in a blanket as they mourned? If so, you really should check your own blanket, because if it's from Blackwell's, Lucia's curse is coming for you. As unto the Blackwells, so unto you. Let the curse of a slow, painful, and wasting death befall you and all those who purchase this and any others. That's the short story for Bedbugs 3. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm getting tired, folks, so my eyes are hurting. That's why I kind of stumbled through that one. But anyway, welcome to the world of the Green Man. I hope you purchase some of my novels. I've got Year of the Cicada, which is my very first book. Adult graphic only. No children. I don't even know if I'd let a teenager read it. It's, woo! Father May I, science fiction. What if we actually did let an artificial intelligence fix everything? Will we live at peace with it, or will it cost us in the end? You got to read Father May I to find out. And The Flesh Eaters, written and based in Colorado Springs. So if you're from the area, you will recognize a lot of the streets, the names, the malls. So we have an outbreak that takes place. A scientist opens a door that he shouldn't have, and he lets out something that never should have been let out. But what you realize later is it was here before us in the first place. What was it? What is it? So anyway, welcome to the Green Man's World. I hope you enjoy these things. Like I said, Father May I is also on Kindle. My other two novels and the second Bedbug book is soon to be. I couldn't tell you when, though. But welcome to the Green Man's World. And have a good day. Enjoy 2020. And when you have some time and you have some spare money, please buy my books. Trust me, you'll love them. Anyway, good night, good day, good evening, and talk to y'all later.